Hello, it's Mona, and this is my morning view. Today, Summer Edition 2025. It is a scorcher. It is Fiesty Friday. Now, some of you may know that at this time, the shadows would look very different. So it is not morning time. It is actually afternoon time. Had some Zooms I had to be on. Had some things I had to do in the morning. So, unfortunately, I don't always have that availability to do these lives when I want to do them. And as things progress, that may be more of a reality. If it does, I will change my title from my morning view to something else. But in the meantime, my morning view still works. And not to mention, you have the option of watching it the next day in the morning. So for those of you who are watching, you may go to YouTube, Mona E. Harrison. Mona E. Harrison, different than my Facebook profile. And you can subscribe right there. Hit notifications, and both on Facebook and on YouTube, like, comment, and share if you find the content valuable. So, the reason why I tell you to go over to YouTube is that's where I'm moving my main platform. So YouTube will be as soon as I get more than 3 minutes, and I will need more than 50 subscribers in order to do that. I'm really close to that. So if you're on the fence about it, you don't have to be seen. There's this thing where subscribers can be seen or subscribers can be, ghosts. That's what I call those people that watch and they don't like, they don't comment, they don't share, but they take in the content and it helps them. So they come back and they come back and they come back and they come back. And I know this because I've gone to places and seen them personally and have had literally hundreds of ghosts tell me that sometimes it's what gets them through the day. Sometimes just seeing me on encourages them. And so for me, that's a big win. Because if I can reach one person to help them with their life as they're journeying, boy, I can't say that word, through life, then it's totally worth the effort. So, you can be a ghost and still subscribe because nobody would see it if your YouTube is set up that way. All right. So, today, Fiesty Friday. Yesterday, I was talking about prayer, and I was talking about, did Jesus pray for the sick? And that was the main focus. But at the same time, just the content of prayer, the what prayer is, what is it all about? Those types of things. It became a discussion more on prayer and not the focus question of, did Jesus pray for the sick? Meaning, did he pray for the sick? Did he pray for the oppressed? Did he pray for the demonized? Did he pray for, did he pray for financial help when it was needed? Did he, what is it that he prayed for? And it doesn't show what he prayed for, but it showed what he didn't pray for. So we don't know what he prayed for, but we do know what he didn't pray for. And so there are things that are put into our hands as followers of Christ. There are things put in our hands that we are to do, and then there are those things that we go to our Father for. And part of that process is that coming into prayer more as a communication with the Lord. We're talking, we're having a conversation like a friend to friend, or to a mentor to a mentee, for for a teacher, a rabbi, to a student. Yeah, there's conversations that we have that consists of prayer. And that makes it a little bit easier in the idea of, well, how do we pray without ceasing? You don't even have to speak to pray. So you could be at work and praying without ceasing, and nobody would know. Because you're just having this conversation. He can read your thoughts. Did you know that? Did you know God knows what's in here? He also knows what's in here. So those thoughts that you have that, maybe you didn't want anybody else to know about, somebody knows about them. Does he know the motivation that's here for the things that you do and the things that you say? He knows those things. The devil does not have that access. The only thing that the devil has access to is your record of past, how you reacted to something, how he projects you will respond. I guess he was an analyst as well. So back in the day, I was an analyst. And so I analyzed, if this, then that, or if this, then possibly that. And because of that, I tend to overanalyze everything, and puts me into analysis paralysis. And so what happens is, the devil will see how you have reacted, responded, what does the human nature normally do? What is your particular nature going to do? And he projects how you're going to react to it, how you're going to respond to a situation. But he doesn't read your mind. The other thing is when you speak with your mouth and put it out into the atmosphere. When you've spoken something out of your mouth, then the devil knows your intentions. Personally, I would like him to just keep guessing. Well, I think she's going to do this because this is what she's done in the past. Oh, no. Because I have rewired my brain that there are some of those things I catch long before I react. And I come up with whether it needs a response at all. So, with that, the rewiring of your brain is really super important. Being careful of what comes out of your mouth is very important. There was a thing called OPSEC when we were in the military overseas. It was about having conversations where someone else could hear it. Talking about a field exercise coming up. How long you'll be gone. What is your attitude towards your job? All these things are factors in the enemy's data to determine what action they can take. What are the things that could cause problems for the military overseas? And when you are casually having conversation out to dinner about, well, honey, I'm going to be gone for a couple of days. Or your wife says, well, honey, since you're going to be gone for a couple of days down in wherever, how are the kids and I going to deal with this situation if it comes up while you're gone? Innocent conversation. But if there are listening ears, it could be used against the military. It could be used against your family, depending on how devious somebody is that is listening. So when we speak, the devil always has his little imps around to record what you say. And then if there's anything that he can use to damn you in court, he will. Oh, but Job said that he feared his children were not going to serve you. When he was asked, oh, have you considered my servant Job? Oh, yeah, I've considered him. But you have a hedge around him so that I can't touch him. But I have definitely considered him. Now, this is the dialogue that is not said in the Bible, that, the devil goes, but you know what? I have something against him. And you being a just God have to be just in this situation. He has said something that has caused an open door for me to be able to do this, but I can't because you have your hedge about him. Fear is not of God. It's not of God. So what happens is the devil can use that against them. The devil can use that against you. Oh, they're dabbling in something that isn't from you, Lord. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't fear certain things, because there is a mechanism that God has placed inside our bodies called fight, flight. And that mechanism determines whether you need to get away quickly or whether you need to stand up and fight. Well, guess what? That can also be used against the enemy, the devil. But we don't have to fight the battle. We don't have to fight it. God will fight it for us. There are angels in heaven that fight for us. It was like when Daniel was waiting, and it took 21 days for the messenger of the Lord, the angel, to come to him, and he said, I was restrained by the prince of Persia. He was not talking about a human prince. He was talking about the prince of the region, the ruler of that region, the demon that was in charge of that region. Each region has demons assigned to it, and depending on their strength, depending on what's going on, will determine how influential they are in that space. Remember, you can turn an entire community around when you use the tools and the forces that are at your fingertips. But too many of us are in fear of the retaliation that could take place when we step up to the plate. They don't play games. It's your trust in the Lord. Trusting in Him that will get you through the process. It may be difficult. You may have to deal with sorrow and suffering. You may have to deal with loss. But thanking God that He's going to see you through it, regardless of what you've lost, what you could lose. Job is an excellent example of that. Here, I was going to talk to you about some of the things that about finances, and the fear that we have behind finances, and not trusting in the Lord. If He said His children do not beg for bread, you do not beg for bread. You don't have to beg for bread. But there may be a situation where you're in, where the enemy has stepped in and taken your finances, taken everything you own. Look at Job. Took his health, took his children. People are saying, hey, Job, you need to just curse God and die because you did something bad. God's pretty mad. It's like, no. No. He didn't have to suffer long, but he had to suffer. And in his suffering, he came to the realization is, who am I compared to God? Who am I compared to God? So at this point, Job had put a stake in the ground. I'm not moving from here. And God redeemed everything he lost with double. With double. So when you get all, upset about God's not doing this for me or God not doing that for me, just remember that sorrow and suffering are part of the process. And the more we embrace the joy of that he's going to get us through because we can trust in him, then that is when things start to change. It may take a little bit. It may take a little while. You may have to go through a little bit more. But the trust is what gets you out of it. Or at least feeling the blunt of it. Like I said, Jesus didn't worry about finances. He told Peter to go fish and get the coin out of the fish's mouth. First fish. Not fish all day. Not go through all the fish's mouths to find enough money to go pay the temple tax. Jesus' temple tax and Simon's temple tax. Both of them together. First fish, one coin, paid for both. Peter still had the fish. Notice I didn't say it was magically appeared into Peter's hand. It is not. God uses people to bless others. And so working is one of those ways that you can be blessed. How are you looking at working? How are you looking at your job? Storm came in really quick. So I got to finish up here. But when we sit there and cause our own mouth to deceive us, when we sit there and proclaim things that are contrary to what the Word says, for example, yesterday when I was talking about people think that serving God and money, that money is evil, and because money is evil, God's not for you making money, so therefore you need to just deal with your poverty because poverty brings us closer to God. That religious nonsense has got to stop. There's plenty of scriptures that back up that God gives us the power to get wealth. That we can get wealth without toil, meaning we're not striving, we're not like, oh, this is so hard. It's a flow. It's a flow. But when we want to keep holding on to those religious ideals. Isn't it romantic to be poor your whole life? Oh, look at Mother Teresa. She had nothing. Mother Teresa was taken care of by the church. And she worked. And she loved what she did. But if she wasn't being taken care of by the church, she would have to go get a job. And if she was out getting a job, she would be earning a paycheck. And how many of you have declined a raise? Yeah, probably none of you. You probably have been complaining about how you haven't gotten a raise, or that the raise isn't enough to cover the expenses, to cover the inflation. But we get caught up in this, and then we speak it out of our mouth, and the enemy's like, okay, we gotcha. Make him guess. Make him guess. All right. I have to head in because storms are brewing. Storms in life are necessities. You need storms to be strengthened. Prime example, the biodome in Arizona. When all the trees grew and they crashed to the ground because they could not hold their own weight. They discovered it was because there was no wind, there was no storms, there was nothing there to strengthen the tree. So we need storms. We need sorrows, we need sufferings, we need grief. We're talking about sorrow and suffering last night in my book club. And during reading Heinz Feet in High Places, I had to remember the title in the right order. Heinz Feet in High Places. And somebody was talking about how today's children don't get it. They don't, everything's been handed to them. Everything's been, the ones that are in the workplace now. And it's like they don't understand that if they don't do their job, they get fired. They don't understand because it's like, not for nothing, I get a participation trophy. So what we deducted is that we have sheltered our children from sorrow and suffering. Sorrow and suffering. Oh, no, they can't lose. They have to have a trophy. So we thank God that we are not in that space. We thank God that we went through sorrow and suffering growing up. We thank God that we didn't get the participation trophy, that we had to actually work to get that trophy. Or sometimes that is striving. You do have to sometimes strive to get the trophy. But in life, to earn a paycheck, you don't have to strive, but you do have to do your work. You still have to do the job. You still have to do the job. And are you going to do it joyfully, or are you going to do it with complaining? Because if you're complaining, maybe you're not in the right space. What if there was an opportunity to come before you where you could actually make some good money and not have to put all the effort and time into it that you do now because you'll work smarter, not harder? Oh, but no, we don't want that. We don't want that. We might get rich and then we might lose our space in heaven. Please, I'm asking you. Do not fall for all the religious mumbo jumbo that has been spewed out for decades and decades and decades and decades. I've been in this for more than 4 decades, and I've heard it all. And it's like, and I believed it. And it hurt my bottom line. Both spiritually, financially, and physically. This doesn't have to be. All right. Blessings, everybody. Thank you, Michael, for watching. Have a great day. I will see you all on Monday. Don't forget to go over to YouTube, Mona E. Harrison, and subscribe. Thank you. Take care. And blessings.